Hello all, welcome back to the Unplayable Podcast. It's an exciting day because we're less than a month out from the World Test Championship final, and Australia have announced their squad of 15 who's going to take part in that showpiece match against South Africa. We'll dive right into that in just a moment, but my name is Josh Schonafinger. I'm joined by Jack Paynter, who's going to be over there at Lord's for the final. Jack, how's it all going, mate?
Good, Josh. Good to be back. Feels like cricket season hasn't really ended, so straight back into it, aren't we?
Yeah, we sure are, and there's lots to touch on today, not just that squad, but also a bit of news from an Indian great retiring, IPL stuff, PSL stuff, and also some county stuff. There's some Aussies over there doing some good things. But why don't we start with the World Test Championship final squad, Jack? The ICC mandate that you have to have a 15-player squad, and then you can choose a travelling reserve or two if you wish, much like the World Cups. And Australia have done that on Tuesday morning. Usman Khawaja, Travis Head, Sam Constas, Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, Bo Webster and Cameron Green are the top order batters. Two keepers in that squad, Alex Carey, Josh Inglis. A couple of spinners, Matthew Kuhnemann and Nathan Lyon. And then four quick bowlers, Pat Cummins, Scott Boland, Josh Hazlewood and Mitchell Starc. Now, this is the same squad that they're going to then take to the West Indies for 3 tests, which is pretty much straight after that final. So that's why there's that extra spinner in there. And the travelling reserve is Brendan Doggett, who, of course, had that stunning Sheffield Shield final. So, Jack, what name stands out there from that squad? And is it pretty much what we expected?
I think so, yeah. There's no real surprises. Like, all of these guys have been in the test squad over the summer when they beat India and Sri Lanka to secure that spot in the World Test Championship final. I guess the one surprise, especially for English conditions, is the Matthew Kuhnemann selection. So you imagine he'll back up sort of Nathan Lyon for the Test Championship final, and then he'll play a bigger role in the Caribbean for those 3 tests where, you know, conditions typically are more favourable to spinners than what they are in the UK. So we could see them play 2 spinners there. But, yeah, I think he's just sort of going along to be in or around the squad. And in case, you know, something does happen to Nathan Lyon, he could come in as that spin option for the World Test Championship final. So touch wood there. But, yeah, the other one, I guess, is Brendan Doggett, who's been in pretty good form throughout the whole Australian summer. Really started the summer with 6 wickets against India A for Australia A, and then finished it with that record-breaking Sheffield Shield final haul of 11 wickets to help, you know, South Australia clinch that drought-breaking title. So definitely not a surprise selection, I guess, but one who, you know, hasn't been around the squad over the past few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did. He sort of touched in to the Boxing Day squad, didn't he? And so he's been around about the last little bit. And George Bailey said on Tuesday at Allan Border Fields that, yeah, he's certainly on their radar. He bowls pretty quick. And if one of those big 3 Aussie quicks do come down, obviously they've got Scott Boland, but he's a pretty good backup as well. The other talking point, I suppose, is the opening position, Jack. We know Usman Khawaja is a lock. Magnificent double century in Gaul just a few months ago. But who partners him for the World Test Championship final and then for the West Indies tour? Well, there's quite a few options, isn't there?
I guess your guess is probably as good as mine at this stage. You know, you were there and listened to George today, and he sort of touched on how they don't see it as a specialist position per se. And he said, you know, both Marnus could do it, Josh Inglis could do it, Sam Constas obviously can do it. Steve Smith's done it before. So, you know, there's 4 or 5 guys who could do it. Yeah, I don't know which way they'd go. I've certainly got my own sort of opinions on it. Like, I think sort of that's because Kagiso Rabada is obviously a world-class fast bowler, and we saw the way Sam Constas tackled Bumrah during the Border Gavaskar series. So, you know, does he come straight back in? He hit some, you know, good scores at the end of the Shield season with 2 half centuries for New South Wales. So, you know, he's had a taste of it now. So, yeah, we've got plenty of options, that's for sure.
Yeah, I suppose the key consideration will be just the lack of cricket he's played in England, Constas. I'm not sure that he's ever been over there. I mean, they'll head over on the plane in about a fortnight's time, but whether or not that's his first taste of those conditions, the Duke's ball, you know, all that sort of stuff, it's certainly going to come into calculations, I imagine.
A couple of green centre wicket pitches down at Beckenham where the Aussies will be training. We'll test him out, that's for sure.
But, lots of options there. And, of course, Josh Inglis, he played in that Sri Lanka series as a batter only. But it's not going to be easy. If he's not in the top order, it's not going to be easy for him to fit in the middle order either, because Cameron Green is another one who returns. He's not bowling at the minute as he comes back from that back surgery that he had at the end of last year. But we know what a gun batter he is. And Bo Webster's done nothing wrong at all, but, he could lose his spot just by sheer force of the fact that Green's coming back.
Yeah, that's right. It just depends, I guess, how the selectors and, Pat Cummins and Andrew McDonald want to go in with a side. Do they want, an extra bowler in there, like a fifth option in an all-rounder to support those three quicks and Nathan Lyon? Or do you think they can get away with, just having the four specialist bowlers and go in with six batters and obviously Alex Carey as the wicketkeeper who, is in sublime form at the moment? You've got that 100 against Sri Lanka, finished the season with 100 in the Shield final for South Australia. Hasn't played any cricket since then, but I wouldn't count that against him at all. It just depends on what sort of 11 and structure they want to go in with. I was looking back at some numbers of the last time Australia played at Lords, Josh, and Cameron Green did play quite a big role with the ball there. That was the test remembered for the Johnny Bairstow stumping. Everyone will remember that one, but also the one that Nathan Lyon got injured in. So, Green bowled 22 overs in that test at Lords and 13 in the second innings after Lyon got injured. So, just shows you how much of a role that all-rounder position did play in that test match.
And a good piece of trivia too: Cameron Green was the bowler when Bairstow was stumped. So that's one to tuck into the back pocket in case it comes up in the next pub trivia night, Jack.
Yes, could be interesting reception for the Aussies once they get back to Lords, but they're not playing England, so crowd might be a little bit more forgiving.
Maybe. Let's wait and see. Now, of course, the West Indies tour follows the World Test Championship final straight after. I think it's 10 days between those tests, isn't it, Jack? They're going to head to Barbados for the first test. So it made me go back and have a look at the most recent test tour to the West Indies, which was 10 years ago, actually, a full decade since they've travelled there. And I wanted to have a look at that 11 that they rolled out against West Indies in Kingston on June 11, 2015. Only 4 players remain from that match. Do you want to try and guess who those 4 are, Jack?
Yep. I haven't looked at it as recently as you, I don't think, but I imagine one of them is Nathan Lyon.
Yes.
Josh Hazlewood.
Yep.
Mitchell Starc.
Got it.
And Steve Smith.
Oh, it's too easy. Yeah, the rest of the batting order was David Warner, Shaun Marsh, Steve Smith, Michael Clarke, Adam Voges, Shane Watson at 6, Brad Haddon, and Mitchell Johnson was the 4th bowler there. So, a decade between stints over there in the Caribbean. I'm sure they'll be excited to get back for this 3-test series. And the third, Jack, is going to be a day-night test, so that's exciting as well.
Yeah, that's right. New lights going in at Sabina Park in Jamaica. The Aussies didn't play there during the World Cup last year. It wasn't actually a World Cup venue, so I don't think they've been back there for a while. Their most recent tour to the Caribbean prior to that World Cup was in the COVID hub in 2021, which was sort of all the matches were played at the same venue, I think. So, yeah, it's been a while between drinks for the test side, that's for sure. And, not a lot of experience in that group either, playing in the West Indies. Quite unique conditions, I guess, where, you've got a rich history of fast bowling, but also, pitches that can offer a bit of spin. So certainly be a test for them.
Absolutely. Now let's have a look at South Africa. As at the time of recording, we don't actually have South Africa's World Test Championship squad, but we have a pretty good indication on who might be in it. Kagiso Rabada, who you mentioned at the top, he's just served a 1-month ban for recreational drug use. That's why he flew home from the IPL. He is going to be available for that final, though, Jack. And, he forms a key part of that bowling attack, which is going to include Marco Jansen and Keshav Maharaj, you imagine.
Yeah, you'd think so. Who else is there? It's kind of few questions sort of to answer there. They've had a few guys sort of float in and out of that bowling attack, haven't they? South Africa. So they've got obviously Dane Patterson, who has been playing for Middlesex. Corbin Bosch made his test debut against Pakistan, made 81 and took 5 wickets. Is playing in the IPL at the moment. So, he's someone with some serious talent. Lungi Ngidi, he's back from a groin injury in the Champions Trophy. He's also playing the IPL. Wian Mulder, they've got plenty of options like the Aussies do. Just depends who they choose to go with for that side, I guess. So, but yeah, the Rabada stuff is quite interesting, sort of around that ban, because he could have been potentially suspended for up to 3 months, which would have put him out of the World Test Championship final. So he had to undergo 2 drug treatment programs to reduce his ban to 1 month. So that's what he did sort of during that time off that he had from the IPL. I was doing a reading up on this sort of when that news came out, but there's still a process where the ICC and the World Anti-Doping Authority could appeal that suspension that was handed to him. No sort of precedent for the ICC to appeal it. I don't think they've sort of generally stayed out of these decisions, but WADA were the ones who appealed the Essendon Football Club drug suspension when they had the sort of peptides thing back a decade or 12 years ago. But I guess looking at sort of the history of recreational drug use in cricket, you've got Doug Bracewell served a 1-month suspension last year when he was tested positive in New Zealand. So doesn't appear like there'll be any sort of movement on that. And I guess the precedent is that, 1 month suspension with treatment as well. So you'd imagine that Rabada will be there for that World Test Championship final.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting background. Rabada was South Africa's leading wicket taker in this cycle with 47 wickets at an average of 19.97. So good going there for the big quick. The other name who I wanted to float up, Jack, who is certainly in the mix, is Quina Mumpaka. He's a young left-arm quick from South Africa. He played in the New Year's Test against Pakistan, and he is highly rated internally. So look out for him. He's another exciting one. But the Aussies aren't the only ones with some playing county cricket. As you said, Patterson is playing for Middlesex. He's a sort of medium pacer type. Kyle Verreynne, their keeper, he's playing for Notts. Simon Harmer, who played on the most recent tour to Australia a couple of years ago. He's at Essex. He's been dominating county cricket for quite a while. And David Bedingham, well, he's suffering a toe injury at the minute, but he's a staple for Durham. But we do reckon that he's probably in their best 11 if he's fit in a month's time.
Yeah, he's an interesting one, actually, because he played in that test series in New Zealand when that one when they sent a second string side because of the SA20 competition, and he's kind of the only one that's hung around from that tour and sort of made him
amazing.
Made sort of his position his own in that middle order. So that'd be a blow for them if he doesn't get up for the final, but. Fingers crossed for him. The other one is their captain, Temba Bavuma, who missed their recent 4-day domestic final with an elbow injury. So haven't heard any updates on him yet. Obviously, we'll probably get one when they name their squad sometime this week. But he has had a bit of a history of elbow injuries dating back to 2022. So that's a bit of a concern for the Proteas.
Now let's have a look at India, Jack. Big news coming out of the Indian camp this week with Virat Kohli announcing his test retirement after 123 matches, 30 centuries, and 9,230 runs at an average of 46.85. It's been a stellar career. I mean, spanning over a decade, 30 tests against the Aussies, including 900s. But we've seen a decline in his output since the pandemic, averaging just 32 since COVID swept through the world. So, Jack, where do we sit with Virat Kohli? Is he an all-time great, or is he just a little level below? Where do you put him?
I'd put him sort of at all-time great areas. I think you look at his sort of impact on the game and on India. They've dominated world cricket for most of his career. So, and he's been at the forefront of that. So it's hard to go past him being an all-time great. And his career in Australia is quite impressive as well. You look at what he's done around the world. His career average is about 46, I think, and just a touch under that of 43 in Australia with 7 centuries as well. So being able to play away from home is a mark of a great cricketer, and he's certainly done that here on Australian soil.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interesting tweet as well. I think it was from Will McPherson, who's a Gun English journo. He said that when Sachin Tendulkar came in to the number 4 role in 1993 or thereabouts, he sort of held it for his whole career and then handballed it over to Kohli basically as he finished up. So that number 4 role in the Indian side has been held by 2 players for the best part of 30 years, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Who could you see coming into that role? Do you reckon? Have they got anyone who's ready to step into it?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. Probably they won't blood somebody new there, I wouldn't imagine. I mean, Shubman Gill, he's sort of been searching for his spot in that test side. He's definitely an option. But, of course, they've also got the Rohit Sharma spot to fill as opener as well. And then you get to the captaincy question, can Bumrah do it full-time? So lots of moving parts for the Indians, and they've got a big 5-test series against England coming up this northern summer, so it's going to be fascinating viewing.
Yeah, and the one who we did see open was KL Rahul, but he's not exactly young either, is he? He's been around for a while and very good player, but if he comes into that opening role or number 4, he's not going to hold it for a decade or more like Kohli and Tendulkar did. So they're going to have to sort of find someone eventually to fill that role long term. And whether that is Gill, he started opening the batting, dropped down to 3, sort of found his spot there. Can he drop down another one, or have they got someone else coming through? And they've got the likes of Sarfaraz Khan, who didn't play against Australia over the summer, but scored a big 100 against New Zealand in that series that they lost just prior to coming to Australia. So with more than 1 billion people in the country, I'm sure they'll be able to find someone, but whether they can lock down someone long term like they did for Kohli and Tendulkar before him, that's the big question they'll need to answer.
Well, maybe they just give it to Vayab Surinvanshi, the 14-year-old who has taken the world by storm in the IPL, Jack.
Yeah, that's an option. If he can, doesn't really matter how old he is if he's making 30-ball hundreds in the IPL. So won't be long before we see him playing for India, I wouldn't imagine.
Let's stick on the topic of India because the IPL was suspended on May 9 due to some tensions on the border there in Kashmir between India and Pakistan. But we've got news that's going to resume on May 17, which is Saturday night here in Australia. They're only going to play the remaining matches at 6 venues: Bengaluru, Jaipur, Delhi, Lucknow, Mumbai, and Ahmedabad. And the final, which was meant to be on May 25, has now been shifted to June 3, which means that the gap between the World Test Championship final and the IPL final is just over a week in case any of the Aussies or South Africans make it. The PSL, the Pakistan Super League, they're also looking to resume later this week, but no details have been confirmed on that. So lots of moving parts in this ongoing situation, Jack, but thankfully all the players are safe. A lot have returned home to Australia. Some decided to stay over there on the subcontinent, but it looks like most will be returning.
Yeah, no details yet from the Aussie team management on who's going to go back, but they seem fairly positive that most would go back, and if they do, there'll be no impact on their World Test Championship final preparations. But you got the likes of Pat Cummins, who's the skipper of Sunrisers Hyderabad, Travis Head, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Stark, and Josh Inglis. So those are the guys from the Aussie squad to play in the WTC final who are part of the IPL. Hazlewood's also nursing a bit of a shoulder niggle, so whether he goes back straight away or even at all is another question. But all things looking positive. That won't be much of an impact even with the later finish to the IPL.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it just might mean that some of them have to go straight to England rather than returning home before that World Test Championship final. So positive news there on the cricketing front. Hopefully that ceasefire stays in place. Jack, a bit further forward in county cricket, let's just touch on the UK stuff before we sign off. I know you love the county stuff, especially all that quality there in Div 2. Marcus Harris, he's been on fire. 3 centuries already this season. He didn't get a look in for that World Test Championship final, but in case anything goes drastically wrong, he's in the right country.
That's right. Well, he couldn't be hitting the ball any better than what he is at the moment. 3 centuries, as you mentioned, but not just centuries, big centuries as well. A couple of 150s in there. Playing a new role too. Like, he's not opening for Lancashire. He's batting at number 4. He's coming in the middle order. I know that was, he talked about that as some of the feedback he got when he did miss out on Aussie squads previously. Is his versatility and how he'd always been an opener. So he's gone there and proved a point that he can bat in different positions. And it's good to see him making runs. Plenty of other Aussies making centuries as well. Cam Green got a century. Cameron Bancroft's got a century. Pete Hanscom's doing quite well. The bowlers as well. Fergus O'Neill lit up the first 4 rounds. So plenty of Aussies, setting the world alight over there in county cricket, as they usually do.
Harry Conway, who didn't play a lot of domestic cricket over the summer, he's got a 5-wicket haul for Darren Lehman's Northamptonshire as well. So great signs for him. And Marnus Labuschagne, he hasn't featured as of yet, but he's going to play 2 games for Glamorgan in the lead up to that World Test Championship final. And we know he's got a fantastic record for the Welsh county. I'm sure that's going to continue.
The other one is Bo Webster as well. He's over there, just landed a couple of weeks ago, 85 off 86 balls in his first hit for Warwickshire. So he's certainly hit the ground running ahead of the World Test Championship final. So, good signs for the Aussies, leading into that match.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jack. When do you head off to the UK ahead of your massive test tour?
First week of June we'll be over there, so plenty of travel coming up on that tour. So it's quite a long tour as well. You look at the Ashes, they're away for 2 months. This one they'll be away for 2 months as well, the players. So it's plenty of cricket coming up over the winter, that's for sure.
Any sightseeing booked before the cricket gets underway, or just straight into it for you?
Straight into it over there. Leading into that, we've got a family trip coming up to Bali, so that'll be good fun to recharge the batteries ahead of a big trip away. But no, nothing other than that coming up.
All right, well, behave yourself over there, okay? We need you in fine form for this World Test Championship final.
Of course, Josh. Good to chat, and looking forward to ramping up sort of the coverage ahead of that big World Test Championship final.
Yeah, that's right. Cricket.com.au and the Unplayable Podcast is going to have the best access and the best coverage for news, scores, video highlights, you name it. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Also check it out on YouTube if that's your thing. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the pod, and we'll be back with you again very shortly.